I decided to do mine on The Great Gatsby. I read this in high school and it stuck with me for years. I really enjoyed it. But before we get started, I would like to tell you a little bit about the Jazz Age. The term was first coined by Francis Scott Key Fitzgerald, or F. Scott Fitzgerald. According to dictionary.com, the Jazz Age was the period in the 1920s that was characterized by a period of carefree indulgence, wealth, freedom, and youthful exuberance. All of these things were definitely characterized in The Great Gatsby. I feel that The Great Gatsby was the epitome of what the 1920s stood for. The book was about love, conflict, and it helped to represent the struggle to attain the idea of the American dream. The American dream was to have wealth, education, and freedom to do in love as you please. I feel that this was definitely what Gatsby represented. He was a man of many wonders. Nobody really knew who, quote unquote, J. Gatsby was. So the book starts out with the narrator, Nick Carraway, speaking. We learn a little bit about him and where he is from and what he does for a living. He works in the bonds business, by the way. He makes decent money. We also find out that he says he really isn't a judgmental man or person, but that Gatsby represents everything that he despises, but in the end turns out to be a good guy. The first time that Nick meets Gatsby, or at least that the reader meets Gatsby, he's staring off at the lake, at the other side of the lake, at a green light. You want to remember this because it has a specific meaning in the book. I guess now would be the perfect time to explain where these people live and why there is a green light at the other end of the lake. In The Great Gatsby, Long Island is split into two sides. You have the East Egg and the West Egg. The East Egg is where families who come from old money live. These would be families such as the Vanderbilt family. They have old money. According to Wikipedia, old money is the inherited wealth of already established upper-class families. To make that simpler, old money is money or wealth that has been passed down for generations. Daisy, who is Nick's second cousin once removed, yes, she actually said that, and I don't understand why. She could have just made it simpler by saying, my second cousin. That is where her and her husband Tom Buchanan live. The West Egg is where those with new money live. New money is wealth that has been recently earned in large quantities or that has not been inherited. These people may flaunt their money because they haven't had it their entire life. And this is where Nick Carraway and Jay Gatsby live. And in the beginning, you don't really understand why Jay Gatsby lives in this because he says himself that he was born of money, born to money, as other people say that he is born to money because he is Oxford man and he had all this wealth. You shortly find out that he actually earned all of his money by bootlegging alcohol and forging bonds and other documents. Bootlegging and prohibition were big problems, or not so much problems as they were characteristics of the 1920s. And then here is where I'm going to start talking about the green light. Since you know about the East Egg and the West Egg now. The green light at the end of the dock is actually at the end of the dock of Daisy Buchanan, which is Jay Gatsby's unrequited love. It symbolizes that she was only a lake away and that he would always be there for her, be there by her, close to her, however you want to put it. Anyway, during the events of the book, Nick goes to have tea with his cousin and his old college buddy, Daisy and Tom, respectively. During this, he hears some speculation that Tom has a lover, Myrtle, or as I would say, she was kind of a floozy. Um, she was also in the city. Sorry. We also find out that she is married later on as well, and that Tom has spent a lot of money on her. She has her own flat in the city that she and Tom go to and throw these lavish parties. We also find out that Gatsby is throwing lavish parties and that his house is right next to Nick's. And this is sort of how Daisy and Gatsby become reacquainted. So Gatsby returns to Daisy's life way too fast, and everything pretty much goes downhill from there. Here's just the gist of the rest of the story, because I don't want to go into the entire details. Daisy and Gatsby start to have an affair, and she stupidly admits her love for Gatsby in front of Tom while they're in the city. This starts a fight, so Gatsby and Daisy leave, and then Myrtle, Tom's lover, gets ran over and killed due to jealousy and distracted thoughts and driving. And then here's where I insert the music. Dun, dun, dun. Suspense. Daisy did it. At the end, Daisy stays with Tom and completely ignores Gatsby and her love for him. He, Gatsby, ends up shot and dead in his pool. Can you guess who did it? Your thoughts may be Tom Buchanan because of the uncovered love affair between Gatsby and Daisy, but they would be incorrect. The murderer was actually George Wilson, Myrtle's husband, with a gun by the pool. That was quite an turn of events. I find it oddly intriguing, though, how those who have money, specifically the East Eggers, seemingly can get away with everything, including murder and adultery. But those who live in the West Egg, they seem to be blamed and questioned for any crime that happens because they don't come from these old, already established families. So they are suspicious. I think that it was very unfair that George automatically thought that Gatsby was the one who killed his wife. He didn't even question the fact that it could have been the man that she was having the affair with, or even that man's wife. He just automatically condemned Gatsby. He was the judge, juror, and executor in this situation. I loved reading The Great Gatsby, and I feel that it was probably one of the greatest novels from the Jazz Age. And there are so many hidden meanings in the story, but there are also many noticeable symbols, which make this work, in my opinion, one of the greatest American novels.